stats dot gather table stats, that L1DB also can do it. So what you will learn, you will learn many more things in the stats. So we will have to go to that part. So here, so gather stats. This is a one table. It's a simply mentioning this. This is recommended. Even though you say that L1, L2, L3 does not matter, but this is a recommended one. But this may sometime may work and may not work too. You have to just follow some instructions before using this kind of commands. Now let's take an example. I just prepared this two table. I gather the stats. Now everything is fine. Let's try to go for run the queries. My query which I am running is I'm trying to see that here this method. I'll be running this particular command. But here, what I am just trying to say, I am running this command with using this particular NL method, nested loop join method. I know that this is a bad query, but still I am giving here as a use asterisk slash asterisk plus and asterisk slash. This is the way to compile. In between, you mention your int use NL and followed by table 1 space table. That's it. Now this timing I want to verify. Here, set timing. Now let's take this particular query, and here you go. Set timing on, and I will try to run this particular query and see this is the problem. Now how much time it is taking? Just see that. I know that this is the not the best option. Now once it is executed, it took around 9 seconds, 40 milliseconds. This is how you have to pronounce. After you knowing that it is executed with the 9 seconds, with the 40 milliseconds, I want to verify what would be my SQL ID for this. SQL ID, I want the buffer gets from the given SQL stack, where SQL ID, SQL text, like operation, I'll put here, just the correct. Okay, so now I want to just see from my side that it is performing this much of buffer gets. This is what I just noted. I will give you two different way where you just note of it. Initially, I'll just take this all, save it in the notepad so that you will also perform the same activity. Here. Let's continue with this options. Let's set. Now after you prepare, this is one. Now you know that SQL ID is this. What I will do, I will just try to ask this guy. Right now it is taking which method? I know that it is going with the nested loop join. I want to see the next one would be what is my execution plan. Select star from table followed by dbms underscore xplan dot display underscore cursor within the bracket SQL ID, child number, and you can even just take the child number also. In this case, let me add child number. Sorry. Yeah. Query is gone. Let's rerun the query. As I said that it may flush sometime. So it may flush sometime. So due to that, I'm just asking one more time. Can you get buffer gets from the SID for the given SQL text? Answer yes, why not? You can. This is what I just asked. So I have one of the query, and I want to get the buffer gets for this query. I see that I'll get the buffer gets. This is my one of the query which is running. Now I give you the way of identifying that I have done this whole R&D. Now I know that SQL ID. What would be the next action point? Get the execution plan. I know this SQL ID and all. So I'll just try to say that select star from table, write down this function, dbms underscore xplan dot display underscore cursor, and run this particular syntax. Here we go, display underscore cursor. So within the bracket, SQL ID is this is the one, and child number 0, and here. That's it. So writing this command, you will get a next page. This now. So to give it in a better output, so set lines 200 and pin this 1000. and let's rerun the same. So I got it that saying that this is one of the query which is running this, and it is taking a 149 cost. I know that it is very, very bad cost. Bad cost is nothing but you are doing a unnecessary monolingus. So how much record is at the end you given? At the end you given only one record. Giving one record, but you are trying to cost. But this is how time consuming. Consider that this is what it has been executed. Now I need to give this information to my, or I will run my SQL training advisor. Here at the rate Oracle Home, RDBMS, admin, SQL T, R2. Now .SQL is optional. You can remove this at end. He will give you 15 from the cursor. In that, this is my query. The one which is the top SQL, see here, as per the elapsed time, in 8 seconds, it is considering that. So it is now copy this SQL ID and give it here at the bottom. Enter. Now he says that the cursor, the SQL statement is not in the cursor cache. That's what I said. Sometimes it gets flushed. Sometimes it is flushed from the library cache. So during this period, it is no more available. So this will come out. I'll try to rerun the query. And after rerun the query, this is one of the bad option of this method. I'll go ahead and show you the other method also. Here I'm running this statement again. And this time I'll try to directly run this and I'll provide SQL ID. Now he's started giving me the information. So the same query which is given at the top. Now I given the same SQL ID here. Now it started working on it. You assign the work. That is working on it. It took around 13 seconds to get the things fixed. What he's saying that? He's saying that you given me some time and he picked up 13 seconds to finish. So overall, now if it is finished 9 o'clock 36 minute 16 seconds got started and in 30 seconds it got finished. This much of seconds is took. Now what is the query you given? This is query you given, which is SQL ID is this, and this is my PDB name, container name. And now you will see that now if this is a rack option, then only the thing would be you have to go ahead and check which SQL ID instead of this here. You have to respect to SQL ID. First identify your SQL ID is running in a node 1 or node 2. Add the v.SQL instead of that gv.SQL. Then identify the SQL ID is running in a node 1 or in node 2, and accordingly you have to run this command. Now this next one is what he is saying that I will give you some explanation about here. He's saying that you prepare the object called SQL profile. What is saying that? Actually, what is our today's task? Today's task is given SQL. So this is recorded given SQL. Red is the IO. Red is the IO. Then how do you start working on it? Consider that. Identify the query. Next, I identified my query. Next, give that query to query. Give that query SQL query or text, SQL text or SQL ID to SQL training advisor. So I know that the way of referring with it is good or bad, but still I'm asking you to go ahead and given SQL Redis the IO is my goal. Identify the query and followed by give that query to SQL training advisor. Now I given it. Now what he says that I give you some validation result. He said that I will give you some validations. That he said that your original plan and he changed some execution both with a different plan. He may be come up with what we call SQL profile plan. So the original plan and the SQL profile plan, it is different in their timing executions. See. Now if you see here what he is saying, you as a query, if you execute it, it is taking more time. Let's copy this sentence and give it to you, the whole output. This is my SQL ID. And starts with looking for this SQL statement. And I already said that sometime it may come out from the plan. So you have to make sure that you just find out, I forget it. Let's take it in the today's notepad, and followed by the output file, followed by you just now see what's going on. Now in this example, what we have to scroll up, you have to see that first he has come with the original plan, changing with new plan. So here, what he has reduced the I volt, nothing extra. So he has not touched the physical read, he's only improving this. So due to this gets reduced, obviously what is gets reduced, both the CPU is also reduced and total time consuming is also reduced. That's what the, now how he has reduced this value from directly 0057 to directly 114 because of scroll down, and you will see that. He says that your query initially running with nested loop with the cost of 149, and he come up with a hash job with a cost of 34. So that means he just changed, he is not changing the table access part, he is not changing the join order, he only changed this table. That's it. And now how this calculation cost works, so you are read this table 10,000 times. So your cost of this second table reading is 15, and you are reading 10,000 times this reading. So 10,000 into 15, it is round off this value. So this is the cost, how it works. So now this cost you want to reduce it. So you can reduce here also, you can reduce this trips also. So how many times you did a trip, so you did this much of trip. Either you can go with change this reading of trip. So scan one table one time, and this is our table one time, and prepare hash table and scan the other time. This is what the formula, and then while scanning map it. So this, if you make it change, then your cost 149K instead of that becomes a 34. So hardly 34. So this is now what it is. Now how do you change this without changing my code? Because the developer has written this code and they don't want you to touch their code. So how do you change it? So they need to come up with the options would be use the profile. What is that profile called? SQL profile. How do you prepare this profile? So you have to prepare that profile by running this particular command. He said that you just run this particular command. Consider accepting the profile. What is this? Recommended SQL profile. Consider accepting the recommended SQL profile. What do you mean by accept? Your package name is called DBMS SQL Tune. Accept SQL profile, other word, creating a profile. So in short, backend, changing your execution plan for a given query. In terms of SQL, can be join method, join order, or join, you can say any one of this example. So now I picked up one method. For join method is wrong. So he has now come up with the solution. Now, if I go ahead and tune it, it will give me the proper answer. This is the one method or one problem. But he's also saying, if you try with the improvements, you want to change this value with the table access full. So you want to now, here the access path is given, better to have an index on these columns. So you want to reduce the access path of 17 to little bit extent. So scroll down and you'll see that after index preparation, it becomes 8 and 8. Instead of 17 plus 17, 34, here you'll see that 8 plus 8, 16. So that means index of the scale is going on. That's how it is improved. Can we set SQL profile on runtime? We are not setting runtime. We cannot. Setting the SQL profile in runtime, it is already there in the backend. Answer to your question. By default, Oracle in 19C or 12C onwards, it is trying to accept the profile in a night window job. And so in the night window job, it does it for you. It is running this all command in the background, but it is in your hand whether you want to proceed with that or you want to check by your own. It's up to you, but it is already present in the background. Answer to that question. Next one is, I just tried to give you these details, whether it's working in the background or not. So let's take some example on the same. Here we go.
One question.
Yes.
Regarding profile, we got the profile, right? And we need to accept that profile, or we need to check the details of that profile. Like here in this case,
you have to say, I would always recommend, don't go with the blindly accepting. Rather, I know that, okay, so if you tune it, let's say you are the initial beginner, you can go ahead and refer that. And if you are not sure, then you learn how the profile is working and how you have understood the theory, and now it is giving me the same pattern or not. And if it is not, then where is my theory missed, or how it is going in the wrong direction. I hope it's clear. So it's clearly given that reading this 10,000 times, it is a bad option. See here, it's clearly given that 10,000 times you are reading it, this to this, so it is making a trip. That's the problem. If you want to reduce the trip, then you have to scan only one time. That is the reason it becomes a direct link to 17 and 17. Now reading the table, cost is no more change. See 17 here also 17. No change in the table reading. But reading this much of time is a problem. So whereas the timing consuming, you are reading this much of time, that's a problem. So this is the reason its cost get bumped. So if you go with these two, reading the table is not the problem, but reading that much of time is a problem. I hope it's clear. If you have an example, if you have less row here, instead of for 10,000, if you have only 2 rows, and in that case the 2 into 15, I get 30, so 30 would be your option, 30 plus this, that would be your options. But now here you read at 10,000 times, so that's a problem.
Suppose I want to see the profile details, what they have suggested, and I want to see in the command line, or is it possible, like instead of, sometimes it gives the details, more detail about these things. So if I want to check the profile related things, what profile they have been suggested, and we need to check the detail of that profile.
Yeah, that's what, when you say it's you want to see that what profile they have suggested, that is called report. What is the word? Report will give you the general sections about from here to here. What is recommended? This is the profile is recommended. So what is the syntax you have to run it to accept that? This is the syntax to accept. And what is the comparison? Yeah, this is my comparison. And how the things is improved? Yeah, this is the original plan, and this is the profile plan. This is the question. So yeah, report would be the case where you will get the answer to your question.
Suppose we want to give, sometimes it won't give suggestions, so we need to give some time for executions. Can we specify that things as well? Like instead of giving the output in 1 minute, we can specify some time for 5 minutes for for executing the details and getting it.
No, we don't have control. You take 1 minute, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You have an upper limit. Okay, you have to complete within this time. We can control only that. We can tell it, okay, go ahead and finish before this time. That is like a half an hour. That's a 1,800 seconds. That we can change. Okay, so if you go ahead and see here, what is the time limit? Before that he has to finish 1,800 seconds. This we can change. Time limit you can change, but you can't tell, you don't come up with only 13 seconds to finish, and you take few more time and then try more and more. You can say good way of finding that we cannot say, or we can't possible to mention.
Okay, so in that case we can say 1800 is a max time we are given to them.
Correct. Yes, that.
Thank you.
Now let's.
Ambassador sir, just one very important question. That syntax which is mentioned in SQL TRPT many times doesn't work in real time. So what is the workaround?
Manually. That's what you have to go with, manual understand. You go with the manual understand with where is the problem with giving you. See, there are two ways. One is either you believe on this advisor or you learn with manual. The choice is yours. Or you should know both, then you will try taking both the help, yours manual plus your advisor, and get it checked whether we are matching somewhere, and we have to take it action accordingly. The other question. Yeah.
So that syntax executed DBMS and SQL tune, the SQL TRPT gives a recommendation to run that syntax and create the SQL profile, but that doesn't work many a times, sir.
Sorry?
So that SQL TRPT, the recommendation which it gives, and the syntax to create SQL profile, so that doesn't work many a times. So we just.
That's what I said. You go with manual method. Manual method is nothing but you have to change the manual. It's a order, join order. You have to go with the join method, manual change. You have to go with the access path change. This is what you have to do it yourself. How do I do it? That's what the next question. You have to change the code. in that case. So without touching the code, can I possible to do it? Answer yes, it's possible. That is also I will explain in the next discussion. Okay, so now let's continue with here. The question asked one more is it possible that we can go ahead and or can we reduce the 10,000 rows after tuning? No, reduce outcome is not possible to use. So there is a outcome, you cannot change the outcome. So I have a 10,000 rows, then the output will be 10,000 only. You should not reduce the rows. Otherwise, your report will, your SQL will not accept what you are actually doing. Answer to question, no. You should not do that from the application logic point of view. Okay, let's now take the other example. I just given you one example about SQL profile. So this is how it has to prepare it. Now let's take a example on if I go with preparing the index. What he says here, you can go with the creating index. That is also benefit. But where it is trying to ask you to create index on the column where we have a joining. Example, scroll up and you will see here, this is my joining column. In the joining column, we have a two column. In this column, he's saying that this column and this column you should create on the table test1 also, on the table test2 also. Now he says that if you try to create an index, then what would be the benefits here? Creating index on table test1 also and in table test2 also, on the joining column C1. So there is a two advisor. One we are running with the SQL tuning advisor. Another advisor that we are actually looking at is SQL access. But he says here in this example, so consider running SQL access advisor. So he says that here, consider running SQL access advisor to improve your physical schema design. Nothing but creating index. This is what we call it. So he will give you access advisor for physical design. What do you mean by physical schema design? There are four values. One is a partition. Second one is MB, MEL, and index. So those are the four options. He recommend you to go ahead and try to adopt or prepare. Index creation, partition creation, index drop, and materialized view creation, materialized log creation. We can say here materialized. Topic is that. Allow me to just complete up to that point. So these are meaning of schema, physical schema design. So who will give this suggestion? SQL access advisor. This will guide me. So he's giving me, now what he is giving to you is asking you to, one is accept profile. Which profile? SQL profile. He's also asking you to create it. He is giving you two options. One is go for create index or accept the profile. The second one is telling you that he's also saying not only go for directly creating index, you can even take a double check from this guy. He's saying that for preparing this create index, try to run again this to double verify. This is we call one more second advice. Okay, so second opinion, what we normally go with before going any operation. So we take a second opinion. So according to that here, creating index by SQL tuning advisor is already suggested, but he's saying that take a second opinion from the SQL access advisor. If he says create index, then go ahead. If not, then don't go ahead. Topic index we will go ahead and refer, but this is right now just note that we are learning with the advisor options. So advisor says that profile creation, accepting profile, and creating index. So what is the job of the SQL tuning advisor? He is also give you stats gather. He also give you restructure. He also give you load into the baseline. So like that, he will also give you 5 options, and he is giving you the 4 options. Overall, 9 options they may suggest by 2 advisors. SQL, both are SQL advisor, but here it's a tuning and here it's access. What do you mean by access? The pattern of referring before getting the data. Either you go with index or you take a partition, specific partitions, or result already stored in the view, and that all it will ask you to refer with the access path. So what you improvement here, in this case, access path is improved. Access advisor will improve your access path. What do you mean by access path? So reading the table, good. Within the table, we have to read only this portion of the table, we need to read it. So you want to read unnecessary more, or you want to read only relevant. So this is access will tell you, you need a relevant to be read, not to unnecessary. If you read unnecessary, I will remove. That's why we call access. Tuning, he will give you different way of tuning. He is a hard profile. So that's what you manually try on yourself. Any question here? Okay, let's practically do the other options where I've given you the syntax. So let's try to go ahead and check with the next options. Yes, the next options I'll be trying to go here, back to this folder, and I'll try to open this previous topics. Maybe I'll go with here. Just mute yourself, please. Better options. Now here I'm trying to go ahead and give you access bar. Let me mute myself. So let me just repeat. I'm saying that what is the advisor name? I'm now explaining SQL Access Advisor. What is the job of this? So you have to first prepare one SQL tuning set. Then only this works. So common question between the advisor. So I will try to keep this output in our today's folder. So here is my today's folder where I'll just try to keep this. So save as, and here is the folder name, and paste it here. Number one, just take this output here. Let's close it and try to open it from here. You should practice it, then only this works. Otherwise, just show it. It would be difficult you to just note only theory part. Rather, you have to do. Can you run SQL Access Advisor separately instead of running? That's what now the top. What you're saying here, running the SQL Access Advisor separately. How do you run it? So for that, prerequisite is required SQL tuning set. You have to mandatory prepare one STS for that. How do you prepare the STS? Like the syntax would be like this. Create SQL tuning set is here. Now there are two methods of SQL tuning set creation. One is using this package. Second one is using this package. If you use this is from AT&C, free. No need to pay. If you use this, you need a tuning pack classes. So once after, you need to remember this is called, the package name called SQL set is free to use it. It's only available from AT&C. Yes, that's what I just referred. Now let's continue with the preparation. How do I prepare the STS? What does the STS stand for? It is an object. It is like your role. What is the role? Will store the privileges. Similar to that, the SQL tuning set, what we call here STS, will store the set of SQLs. So set of SQL, either single SQL or more SQLs, you can store it. That STS, you will load the SQL from the cursor or from the AWR to this particular options. SQL set is free. I'm sorry, yes. No. SQL set is not available in the standard edition. So that's all. Another question. Let's continue. Now, what is syntax to prepare? Syntax is here you go. Let's copy this and just here you go. I'll try to go with this option. STS name, STS. I prepared my user with this STS. What is syntax to prepare? Here, DBMS SQL set, create SQL set, and he's asking for the name. I given a name is STS1. Now object let's prepare. Now what is next? Next step is asking for check in that STS. Do you have any query? So he says that right now I do not have any query. Here, no statements. So here, do you have any statement in this STS? Answer no. So you prepared an empty box. So in that box, I need to load it, but I haven't right now loaded, so that is because empty, no rows selected. Any questions here? See here the package name versus the name. Check which view I am referring. See, and see what is where condition I am placing. Now next one is how do you load it? For loading purpose, I'll say that this is called load the cursor cache. So here, understand the concept, what it is written. So we written here something called anonymous block. That means you don't have create or replace so and so name. That is one named block. So where you will give the name. So right now I'm not giving any name. Rather starts with a declare, followed by begin, and then followed by end, followed by close. So that means your declaration where you are define the variables. Begin, you will execute something, and you will end, you will finish it. This is called anonymous block. Creation of this SQL set in production can hamper in production. Answer no. Answer absolutely. Like it is like creating a role. Creating a role will not hamper. Similar to that, creating this object will not hamper. Any performance related will not be hampered. Okay, let's continue here. What we actually looking here, we are looking for this way, that this is my variable. This is a reference cursor variable. So this variable I'll use it over here. Remember that point. What is the variable job? Hold some data. So from the library cache, you will take this SQL statement details, put it into this variable. So that variable later you give it to the object. So from one area to temporary variable, from the temporary variable to my library, the SQL training set. What we are saying that you store the data here and later that data give it to this guy. Taking the data from here, give it to this guy is called load. Where you're loading to the SQL set. Now, how do you fill up this area? For this to fill up, he's saying that for this is a cursor, right? So here you open the cursor and you say that selecting the data from the cursor cache, whatever the SQL ID related stuff, select it, and that information give it as one name called P, and that P will be referred as here, and that P will be given to this cursor. And that cursor you open whatever, that will be maintained here. In short, whatever SQL ID related stuff is holded here. Later that data get loaded to the SQs, and area removed it, and this plot gets closed. Whatever the area you prepared, this area you prepared, it is removed, and the things is now ready. The box is ready now. Now, if it is flushed from the library cache, does not matter. So if we have a data in the in the HDS, that's what the meaning of this sentence. Okay, so let's continue. Now, next one is I have to copy this command. Go for here. Just paste it. We'll ask for the SQL ID which you want to load it. I know the SQL ID and put this here. After loading, where you want to load it? Obviously, I want to load it in this instance. So he says that it's done, but it is not guaranteed. You have to verify it once again. If it is present in the library cache, it will load it. If not, see if it gets flushed. So that's one of the problem where it is there in the library cache. So maybe an example, I may take it from the other terminal so that it will not flush in my terminal. But still, I will try to show you this query here. Now, after this the query is done, I will try to take it rerun this command with the loading. You will ask for the SQL ID. Now I will give one more time the same SQL ID, and I will give the same HTTPS link. Now maybe I got it. Now this time If yes, then you will see that. Now see, STS is ready. What is STS now? Now I least bother about it is flushed or not. So I have a SQL tuning set which is having SQL ID, and that's what it is referred to. Who will refer now? That SQL set is given. We will go ahead and run this SQL tuning advisor. Access of this one. Now, can I run the SQL tuning advisor manually instead of this? First of all, I'll try to show you SQL tuning advisor manually running. So please understand SQL tuning advisor running separately or manually. Later we will go with the running with the options with the here. Okay, let's continue. Any questions? If you have it, please let me know. So what we actually learning here? So we need to remember that Enterprise Edition plus Diagnostic Pack Tuning Pack is required to use this particular feature. So I'm looking for this particular option, like here. I'll just place it, save as, and location I already copied. It's not this. Your cases here. Copy this and paste. Now let's go for that location and save it. Here. So what we need to understand step by step. In the SQL Tuning Advisor, there are 4 recommendations. What are those? Gather stats, accept profile, create index, and rewrite the query. We call restructure. This we call restructure, and later it is one more part here, O+1. That's a overall. Maybe the +1, maybe or may not be. That's a your load into baseline or create baseline. That's a optional, but maybe or may not be. It will say go ahead and prepare the create the baseline. Now, what is the job of the or what we actually doing it right now? We know that there is one of the bad SQL which is doing a nested loop. Hand over this query to SQL Tuning Advisor. Now, how do you hand over? Either I can use this SQL TRPT, but I don't want to use this. I want to go with manual. In that case, what we will do, we will take those queries, we will prepare one STS first, and we will load that queries to my STS. And hand over, instead of query to SQL Tuning Advisor, hand over STS to my SQL Tuning Advisor. Now, what do you mean by handover? Now let's go ahead and check. So you connect to your machine for this to test it. You prepare the table and all. You see that one of the bad query, which is going with a lot of buffer gets. Note down the SQL ID. And why we said it's a bad? Because of it is taking here lot of buffer gets and giving this much of logical reads, giving you only one record output. This is in terms of more blocks reading and only less records giving. This is like a bad. Taking so and so timing. Okay, so this is what we call the bad part. So once it is noted that we call it a bad. Now we will try to either check with this, where you will pass the SQL ID. You will see that it is working with this one and so forth is recommending. That's one possible. We'll give you these recommendations, trying to change from the nested loop to hash join. So what is the solution? We accept the profile. After accepting profile, if you run the query, earlier the query was taking 3 seconds or 9 seconds. Now it is taking 0 seconds. That means only in milliseconds. The same query, without touching my code, it got changed. Now, even though I used nested loop join here, if I ask the execution plan now, he flipped the plan with the hash join. the query int says that nested loop, but the actual is twisted by node section will tell you that the profile is twisted your hash join. So in the query, the nested loop is asking to ignore that. So he is asking to go ahead and ignore it. So for table 1 and table 2, you asked to don't go with use those. So the hint is given. So this profile, his job is to either fake it or somebody return the hint, and he is asking to ignore that. So what we have asked. After that, you say that instead of going with this way, what I'll do, I'll just try to create one SQL set. He's also recommending me the index creation. What I'll do, I'll just create one STS. So in the STS, what does STS stand for? It acts as an object to hold the execution plan details. So this is my object which will hold the execution plan details. So we have to prepare this STS, and then we will go with the loading the statement, and the statement gets loaded. Now we will call the SQL Access Advisor. So for this, what would be my next action? Here, it is a very bigger code. From here to here, it's very bigger code. In this bigger code, what is saying that I may check internally whether index creation is okay or not. I may check whether index is okay, creation is okay or not. I may check the material view creation is okay or not. Material view log creation is okay or not. So this all is keep checking internally. That is they have written some code that whether to go with or not in this particular package, DBMS SQL Advisor. So this advisor will is a package name, but actually we call it as it is Access Advisor. But what is the package you use? DBMS SQL Advisor. What is that? What he is asking in the declaration section? In the declaration section, he is asking, give me some name for this task, and tell me what is my STS name and what is my owner of the STS. That's it. Hardly is asking the task name. It can be any name, STS name, and who prepared this STS. Hardly 3 questions you have to answer for this SAA. So there are a lot of statements in it. He is asking you, give me this entire statement, I want to run it, give some name for that, and then what statement you want to help me to create index and all, give me that STS name and the owner. So I already note down that my owner of the STS is here. In this view, what is the view name? DBMS underscore SQL set. Where I have a STS name, I will say that name of the STS, owner of the STS, and how many statements present in this STS. Let's copy that. But I check here. Already I know that STS name, SQL ID, but I want to see the owner. Now see here. So I know that STS name is this, owner is this, and these 2 values I will need to pass in. So what I'll do, I'll just copy this entire options from here to here. Maybe you just copy this entire from here to here and start running. Once you run this particular query, it may give you, okay, what would be the next options? After you executed, you completed, it will give you a report. Separate SQL set for each SQL ID or multiple, you can give it. You can give multiple SQL ID in one box. In one box, you can give as many you want. Let's say you want 10, you want only 1, it's up to you. You can go with as many also, it's possible. Now, at the end, once it is finished, what is the next question? Get the script. And he will ask you what is the task value given. So give the task name. So whatever I given maybe SAA2, STS name, and my owner. 1, 2, and 3. Those 3 questions I will answer it. After giving those answer, he will ask you this is completed. Now how do you get the report? Get the task. The get the task will tell you that he says that the script says that the get task will tell you that go ahead and create this index. Go ahead and create this index. Or go ahead and create the partition. Go ahead and create the methodology. Like that, he will give you the script. You have to run it. That's it. After creating this index, now this script gets created. Now rerun the same query and check the execution plan. the execution plan will show you that it is going with those indexes what you prepared. So here you see that index name, these indexes what we prepared, and those indexes started in the game. So now it says that you are ready to do this. So this is how I have to understand the concept of SQL Tuning Advisor plus SQL Access Advisor both. So this will give you in one go what the options. Any questions here or anyone has doubts to clarify? I given all the output with the explanation, and you need to go through those all the explanation and ask me the questions. Any questions here? Let me try with
One question.
Yes, please.
If the query is having a DB link in between, so will it suggest or will it give the recommendations after executing the queries? Like in suppose in statement it is using DB link.
There are some restrictions.
Okay.
Sorry. One of the restrictions like DB link is one of the options where you have to run the query on the source side, not with the where you prepare the DB link. You create the SQL profile and all those stuff in the locations where you have this original query is executed. Okay, so if you prepare there, then the advisor will help. But if you try to prepare here, it will not. That's a problem.
Okay.
Okay, the question is asked, if I give you STS, it has a one query, which is right now it is the user NL, and second it is having a test 1 followed by test 2, third it has a FTS. So these are the three combinations it's going ahead. I hope you remember this. What I said, you have a one query, in that it is going with nested loop. Join order would be test 1 followed by test 2 with FTS. Now this I am asking to hand over to two guys. Either you hand over only to ST, or you can hand over to SAA. It is your choice. You can go with the SAA or ST. Now what is STS? SQL Tuning Set. What is STA? SQL Tuning Advisor. And what about the SAA? Here, SQL Access Advisor. So these are the question asked. And sir, see that's what is the problem with the SQL Tuning Advisor? Let me explain it here. He will run the queries in a background for at least to check at least 2 to 3 times. So what he is saying that he executed the same query. See an example. The statistics of the SQL profile on an average with 10 executions. That means it's trying to run your query in a background at least 1 to 10 times. So due to it is executing the query, to give you a better options, is running the query in the production time. This preparation would be not recommended. Answer to the question, sir. So since it is executing this profile while suggesting before that is running this particular background. So this is giving us some. It is internal checking that if I do A, then what will be the problem? If I do B, then what will be the problem? So those A, B, C is internal thinking that if I will go with A, what do you mean by A? Let's say I am right now using a nested loop. Let me change with hash. Let me change with the sort merge join, or let me take index creation. Let me change the join order. After join order, I can go with nested loop. I can go with hash. I can go with sort. Like that, he is keep testing. After testing only, he will decide, okay, among those, this is the best. I hope it's clear. So due to that, it is not recommended running the advisor in the production peak time. But does it impact creating SQL tuning set? Answer no. This is not impact. This is impact. This is impacted, and this is impacted. So make sure that this should not be executed in the peak time. Execute this, peak time does not matter. But executing this is not recommended in the peak time. But let's say they are facing a problem, then I need to solve, then I need to run it. If they are facing a problem, then I need to run it. Because they already said they are facing a problem. And to face a problem, I need to verify. And after verify, I come to know that there is an issue with the plan. I can manually tune, or I can ask this advisor to run. Hope it's clear. Okay, so let's continue with the further explanation. Without accepting the profile, if I rerun the query, still it's taking how much time? Let's see. Set time now, and go and run the actual query. So still it's taking how much time? It's taking a round of 8 seconds, 7.95. That's a round of 8 seconds. But I want to reduce this. Either I can go with only index creation. I can ask this guy. Here we go. Let me go to the notes and give you the note sections where I given duty docs. In that, this is the third file which I refer. I'll go with here. SAA here. But before that, I'll try to give you some explanation about how do I go ahead and prepare the STA. So here, the preparation of the STS. Maybe we go with here. This is my STA. How do I go ahead and refer the STA? This is creating a STA manually. Let me just copy. In this section, in the same SQLX tuning advisor, I'll scroll up. Instead of you run it through script, instead of running the scripts method. So instead of script method, what you can do, you can try with the steps you can follow. This is my steps to follow. Now, what I said here, there are two options. One is specific SQL ID, you can use it, or you can use STS. What I'm running, we are running with the SQL tuning advisor. So I have to give the heading like manual running SQL tuning advisor. How do you manual running SQL tuning advisor? For that, I am writing 3 sentences. One is create and execute, followed by repeat. That's important to note. What I said, one is create, second one is execute, finally repeat. But I given A value and B value. In the A value, I directly taken the SQL ID. Sorry, in the A value, I take an SQL set name, and in the B value, I'll take an SQL ID. I'll repeat here. I taken in the first case STS name. In the second case, only the SQL ID. Now it's your choice. I'll give here SQL tuning advisor. Manual running SQL tuning advisor. So for this, you should have STS. Now let's copy this command. Go to here. run this command. It's asking me, provide me the STS name. I say STS file. Now earlier you did it through SQL TRPT. That is finished. It is finished now. Let's go ahead and now ask, provide me the report. Then the report name, you can figure out the report, but I'll say here, these are my report. See, it says that report name is this task name. Now provide the task name here. I'll just run it. So he may give me the same output that earlier we seen, that earlier using the nested loop, change it as a hash join, so on and so forth. So my report says that. Now in this case, the report case, what he is giving me is asking me, I may ask you statistics together. I may ask you profile to accept. I may ask you index creation. I may ask you restructure. So there are 4 things he may ask you. Along with that, obviously prepare the baseline. So overall, 5 recommendations can be asked by tuning advisor. What are those? One is statistics gather, profile creation, index creation, and restructure. So that's what it is referred. Now, in case of index creation, he said that go ahead and prepare on this table this index, on this table this index. So that's what it is given. Right now I'm saying that I want to go with the accepting profile. I'll go with here. This is the accepting the profile, followed by here. And this accepting profile is given in 2 lines. Don't go with the directly right top copy pasting. Just take single line and make it 1 line and then run it here. So I'm saying that SQL run it. Now after profile gets created, rerun the same query what we earlier tried, which was earlier taking us 7 seconds or 8 seconds. Now see that where it picked up less than seconds. Now you know that it is taking now less than second rather than 8 seconds. Now I can verify what is the plan. What is the plan? How to check that? The plan which I can check in the scroll up, the execution plan. If you know the SQL ID, and we know that SQL ID, and we know the, let's check here, select SQL text, SQL ID, child number from $SQL, where, and also let's describe this $SQL. In the $SQL, you scroll up, you will see that one of the options is called here. Is it using any here? Here. Let's take a set lines 14 and describe it one more. Now here, instead of 1480. Yeah, let's go for here. What I'm saying, just scroll up and see that am I using a SQL, whatever I just executing a query, that is equal to SQL ID. So my SQL ID, let's say SQL text, SQL full text, SQL ID and all. So here, I use these options called this SQL profile. Do we have any SQL profile for this? Let's write up. The sentence would be here, select SQL ID, child number, and the SQL profile. Obviously, I know the SQL text, $SQL, where, and you know the SQL ID. So let's take a given SQL ID would be this. Here's my SQL ID. Here. This one. So let's take here SQL ID where SQL ID equal to in single quote this one. So you see that here it is SQL profile is using. It is using SQL profile, and also I will verify its plan. How to check the plan? Select star from DBMS. So select star from table. followed by EPMS underscore Xplan dot display underscore cursor within the bracket SQL ID and child term. Display underscore cursor spelling ball. See here in the notes section, you will see the profile is used, and you can also see that hash join. Now cost is reduced from the 150K to what is that? The cost was earlier, but the cost is referred. We referred a 10,000 time with a 15 IO, that becomes a 1.5 and again 3 times. This is a 150 3 times like that. Instead of that, they said that it is 150. So this much of cost is reduced. You multiply 10,000 into 15 becomes a 150,000, that becomes 1. So that is shifted to 34. 34 only, not K. So this is a drastic changes by internal doing without any code. Now I have to check my SQL profile using it, but it is going with the full table scan. I want to verify, can I go with the scripts which I will just copy from here. What is the SQL Access Advisor says that from the declare section. So you know that what is my STS name, who is the owner. So I know that STS name is STS1, owner is Ambaso. So I'm now running SAA, SQL Access Advisor. For that, I'll try to take the STS name, owner and task name. I take here in this, you forget this remaining value. Now this is what we earlier referred. Let's take here, we'll take a task name. I'll go with SAA1. Next, the STS owner, so STS name, say STS1 and STS owner. I'll say that's it. So these are 3 values I'll be passing now. So let's first pick up the SQL Access Advisor from the run the below query to call SQL Access Advisor. Copy from here and up to end. Copy this. And instead of typing directly, I'll just put it in a BISAA.SQL. In that, I'll just paste it and save it. Now, at the rate SAA, asking for task name SAA1. You can give any name. STS name, STS owner. Now wait for a while, and it says that it is successfully completed. After that, I am just asking to go ahead and get the report. So after report, how do you generate the report? So this is my report generation part. So when you want to generate the report, you just copy this and here. So it is asking me the task name. Go with the task name is SAA1. So if he gives you the creation of index, you have to run that. Okay, so maybe right now it is not suggested me to go ahead and prepare the index. So if I rerun the same statement, so if you can see here, SAA is not suggested me any kind of an index. So if it is suggested, he will give the syntax only. He will give you syntax permission that it is good or it's bad. Or let's take an example. I want to remove the what I prepared earlier, the profile. Whatever we prepared the profile, I can even prepare the profile. I can even drop the profile, or I can even disable the profile. Let's go for disable the profile. If I disable the profile, what is the profile name? In my example, let's say name of the profile. First of all, let's verify profile is there or not. This is the profile. The profile, it says that disabled. After making a profile disabled, it's a status be disabled, and now rerun the same query. Checking earlier it was taking a less time, like seconds. It took around less than seconds. Now start taking more than 8 seconds. See why it started using more time now, because of profile gets disabled. So what I did an alter SQL profile, and here status I made it as a disabled with profile. So you can verify in the view called dba underscore SQL profiles. There you go. In this view, db underscore SQL profiles, where you will see that it's a status. Select name status from dba SQL profiles. They will tell you that it's disabled. Due to it is disabled, profile is now not working. Now let's ask one more time SAA1. And task name is SAA2. STS1. And owner is STS. Now I just disabled it. Now try to regather this options to go ahead and ask, do you require any index? He says that index is required. See, he says that in this case, better to create index. To improve the SQL tuning, the given query, you better to have an index creation here. So he is asking me to go for SQL Access Advisor, asking me to create an index here. So this is what the suggestions. Who does it? SQL Access Advisor. Now if I try with creating this index as it is, before creating index, let's verify what's can we enable profile it application running on database? Yes, why not? What is the problem? So your existing plan will not be reused. It will again go ahead and use this profile plan. Answer yes. Now let's say example I just executed. So now I have a index creation options, but still I try with running this query. What is my plan? It is using it. I know this is my SQL ID for a given query. It was earlier used. Yeah, this is my SQL ID. What I'll try to do, check, select SQL ID, SQL child number, whether it's SQL profile is using it or not, commit or SQL, where SQL ID equal to this. I know this is now profile is not using, no profile on because of it is disabled. And what is the plan? Select star from. So I have a syntax for that, plan from C. So I'll be running this command. Let's run it. Plan from C, SQL ID is given, child number 0. So I know that it is going with nested loop, and it is suggested me go ahead and create index. Who suggested? SQL Access Advisor. Let's copy this syntax, paste it. Now created an index, structure gets changed. Now rerun the same query by whatever you earlier tried. What is my query which I want to rerun? Where it is earlier taking a lot of time. See, now it is come with a few seconds. What is changed now? Go ahead and check the plan. So what is right now the SQL ID is using it. Earlier it was using A plan, maybe it is now using a B plan. Now verify, is it profile using it? Answer no. No profile, but index gets created. Let's check that. Plan checks. How do you check the plan? Plan from C. And SQL ID you pass it. Child number you pass it. And you will see that now nested loop is maintained, but this place index is used. But is it good compared to previous? So if you compare with the 150 key cost with the 10020, this is good, but this is still bad with compared to 34. So with only index creation on the second column, why is not suggested the first table? Because he has to read them. Here also I can go ahead and prepare it. So this is, he says that go ahead and prepare the index on this particular column. So multiplication here it is reduced. This is required here. If you reduce the cost here, anyway he has to read one by one row, and you can reduce this here. If you multiply here, 15 is there. So if you reduce this 15 to 1, becomes directly few lines are reduced. So you made it 15 to 1. So due to that, the cost becomes 10,000 plus 17, round off 20. So this is still okay compared with this, and this is still bad, much better than this. Now let's enable this profile, what we have disabled. Let's see if I enable the profile at this time after index creation. Now this is my profile. Earlier it was disabled. Let me enable. Okay, so after enabled, now just rerun the same query. After rerunning the query, now verify what is the plan it is using. It says that a profile started. Now verify the profile is using, but what would be my the index? What we suggested to go ahead and use the index. It says that along with the hash join, I'll go with the index. Now what is the addition? He says that instead of 150k, instead of 10020, instead of 34, now it becomes 24. So which is best? In this case, he is best. So with profile, with one index, where that index is here. 17 plus 7, so 20. So still it's okay. So if you go ahead and create index here also, it's still adding. So if you go ahead and now check, yes, like that you can go ahead and do R&D on your side. How to avoid the new index affecting the other queries, or to check if it affects the other queries. Okay, that's another approach. Whether the next query, the one which you asked about, the next question would be, can I confirm that the index what I prepared, is it good or bad, or is it affecting the other query? So for that, we will have to take the help of SQL performance analyzer. What is the question asked? The question is asked, let's say today I prepared one index, and I have a 10 statement. Statement 1, let's say it's a SQL ID 1, and I have SQL ID 10. 10 statements are there. Out of that 10 statements, I prepared an index for to help one statement. But the other statement may be using this index is good, or maybe it is impacting others. Maybe not mandatory, but how do you analyze this? So is it good or bad for all the queries? You combine these all queries, put it in one STS, hand over this STS before index and after index creation. Just check, is it not impacting anything? Or if it's impacting, then how many queries it is impacting? So this you can verify with this. This is the easiest way. Manual, you have to go and check every query with the execution plan. Rerun all the queries, verify yesterday's plan and today's plan. If there are no change, then there is no problem. Or you can easily run this with this particular performance analyzer. So I'll show you how to run this particular performance analyzer before changing the index creation and after changing the index creation. Any doubts here? Any clarification? In case plan changed for any SQL statement that is a part of SQL set, that will provide advisory for that changed plan query as well. Okay, now the question, if I say that today I have a plan changed, and the question is, now let's take an example about here. I prepared one of the SQL set. This SQL set has a SQL ID 1, and this has a STS plan. An example. Now you prepare an index on this, and this index is prepared. That index followed by your STS plan will work together to go ahead and now you have already profiled it. So now question comes, before creating a index, before creating a profile, which profile? SQL profile, obviously you have to observe here, SQL profile. Before creating index or before creating a profile, it was using a full table scan. It is going with a nested loop join. It is taking a lot of time. Now this STS this STS. You loaded this in the STS. Now you tested with the STA. You tested with the STA, or you given handover STS to STA, and you also handed over to SAA, and they suggested go and get this prepared. After you prepared these two, again you give this, after you accepted this all stuff. Now what was the old value? This is the old value. Now if you go and check now, same query, rerun the same statement. Let's go for here. This is the one. Now let's take manual method I given, manually running the statements. You open that stuff and let's try with you. One more time running the ST. Manually running one more time. Yes. Now it is everything is okay. Now he is running this. He says that what is my STS name? STS1. And what is my advisory report? If you go and check that report, there you go. There. Now when I prepared, everything is okay. And what is the suggestions? So he says that at this time your query is working fine. It is already there in the alternate plan. So he says that. Now what is the conclusion here? Conclusion here is nothing is suggested. So nothing is suggested, and you executed the same query, which is here it says that you have one of the plan in your STS. I already made it STS ready. When the library cache having a SQL ID, and that SQL ID is taking 8 seconds, that time I loaded this query into where the library cache SQL ID, which is having 8 seconds query, which I loaded into my prepared with the STS. Now STS has which query? The query which is loaded in from the library cache, which is taking 8 seconds. Now that query which is there in the STS. See, and now you already previously you executed STA, you already executed SAA. They already suggested me that prepare the Excel profile and create index. So we already done this all stuff. Now all this is now create index is also done. Everything is in place. Now if I ask one more time, take this STS, run this STA. Now if I rerun it, what he says that we already done this, so you no need to do further, because the plan which you are having it here, it is taking 8 seconds, but right now the plan, it is already good, so no need to worry. So what it says that because no execution history of the original plan was found, so SQL advisor would not determine. Plus, if you see that here, if you know the better plan, you can even accept it. But right now it says that you go with rather prepare the baseline. What it says here, the Oracle Optimizer is saying that you create your baseline plan for it. This will instruct the optimizer to pick up the best plan over the choice in the future. So what is the suggestions? Now earlier we have a 4 suggestion, that is called gather stats, accept profile, index creation, restructure. 4 plus 1, this is 4, plus 1 is here. This is called create SQL baseline. Now what is saying, you keep it in the baseline. That is our next topic, how to understand the baseline part. So that's a next topic where you have to start thinking on what you mean by baseline. But is he suggested that to go and prepare? So you are already having the profile plan, which is already going with hash join with index. It is already having a 24 cost. So due to that, your previous plan, now if you see the compare with previous plan, which is there in the STS, it is taking 8 seconds. And it is burning CPU with 8 seconds, doing a lot of buffer gets. Its cost is 149K. So this plan is not now further tunable as per the profile already exists. So due to that, the STS which is already having it, it is not further tunable because it's now already have tuned query which is started using it with index with profile. That's what we call with index. Here we call here with index and with profile. That's the profile name what we refer. Due to that, it is a hash join it is using. Now, if you drop this profile or disable that profile or you drop this index, then there would be a cost change. Then he may suggest, okay, your STS has 8 seconds, let me go ahead and turn it. What is the problem of this query? The problem of the query is a lot of buffer gets. Where is the problem of the buffer gets? So the problem, who made it a lot of buffer gets? This loop, nested loop was a made it problem to make it this many times route search. And if you ask to AWS report, so he will give you a lot of buffer gets, a lot of CPU usage, and sometimes you'll get a CPU spike. So due to that, it is one query. If I run the same bad query around the hundreds and the same query with 100 of time, then it will start spike in the database. Same query, if I execute 8-second query, if I execute 1,000 times or 10,000 times, or every click, if I go, let's say go with your ATM where you are searching or you are going with the balance checking, and it is taking 8 seconds to give you a balance. And there are 10,000 customers are coming in the net bank, or you can say the ATM, and definitely 10,000 people will start wasting the 8 seconds. Rather than now it is taking hardly taking in a milliseconds. So millisecond is very faster compared with 8 seconds. This is not a tolerable case of OLTP kind of options. So due to that, single query also makes a problem for a lot of execution. Either it is executed every button, or maybe different connections are coming at the same time and you are executing. What would be the next problem? If I do this way, it starts getting one of the variable name called CBC, cache buffer chain latch contention. What is the word? Cache buffer chain latch contention. Now, what is a contention? You are asking to do the same work again and again. What do you mean by latch? It's a code of memory. It's a code to scan the memory. So you are asking to reserve that memory before using that blocks in the memory. So you are asking 10,000 times reading the block. Before that, reserve the memory and bring this 10,000 blocks and then read it and then release the latch. Again, your data already have it. Don't remove the blocks which is already there in the memory. Don't flush the blocks which is already there in the memory, which is the code. Keep it is called. He will help me to make sure that keep the data until my read is not completed. So it will reserve the memory and keep those blocks as it is. But reading this block unnecessarily more and more time and asking to find out the blocks, reserve the memory and all, so he need a busy. So this activity gets started busy. So due to that, you will get a lot of contention. So bad query will make a lot of problem. Can you explain why the buffer get CPU is high during the execution? Because of wrong nested loop, because of join method, because of this wrong join method. Answer to the question. Why the lot of buffer gets skimmed? If the query fetches a row, this reason the query's path is not proper. Answer X join method is not proper. Sagar, answer to your question. Join method is not correct. Okay, so reading the same one by one row and doing a 10,000 time, it is a problem. Okay, so due to that, the buffer gets more. Due to buffer gets, now common question, CPU burning will be higher and disk reads are 0, then the IO will not be happens with the physical read is not happening. In the theory, we normally say that logical read is better than the physical read, but logical read is unnecessary, is a bad. Logical read also a bad. In this case, this way of reading is the bad. I hope it's clear. So demonstrate it, please practice and let me know if you have any questions on the same. Copy this all, give it to in the notepad, and over to you to practice. Any questions here? Sometime in top command, local node means remote connections. At the rate you used to connect to the server. That means you are trying to connect to my server. Let's say example, if I take here, duplicate session and login as Oracle, and here PSF and here pipe and local. So that means you're trying to connect here. This is the one, If I do one more time SQL plus here, let's SQL plus it. Buzzer ID. I connected, sorry. I'm using the @ what here. Let's take here which A1. So I'll take a duplicate to show you this. So if somebody connected with the help of here with this A1 options, before that, here we go. Oracle, PSF here, Pipegraph, local. So right now one connections. Now let's go for here A1. 3 connected. Let's take one more connection. That means 2 connections is coming. Local no means I'm using this @ even though I'm in the local machine, but I'm using a @ due to that it's called. Can kill that session. That depends on what activity you are doing it. If I'm doing a banking transactions, if I kill it, is it good or bad? Absolutely, transaction gets failed and customer gets impacted. So to avoid that, don't do that until unless application is confirmed. That good to go. Okay, but now the question is, since these queries are coming from the local machine, there is no application is connecting over here. In that case, it's good to go. Answer yes. In that case, yes. If somebody connected from here and they are running some cron job, that cron job is doing some banking transaction, which is maybe locally you are doing a manual those transactions. In that case, it is a bad. That depends on what query they are running. If it is simple as SQL and they are doing a lot of a bad query and they are not relevant to my application, I can safely kill it. No problem at any time. Okay, so that's an example has been given. Just to go through it and what is the takeaway from yesterday and today. So our tuning process will know that there is a access path, join order, join method messed up. So that's not controlled properly. Then you will see the spike of buffer gates, disk reads, logical reads, CPU usage, all those stuff. And you may ask me, help me to tune my AWR report. See, that's a symptom. The root cause would be this guys. So I'll start giving you root causes. Now your job as now there are 50 guys that joined this class. There are 50 different heads are there to think in different 50 angles. I will give you the 50 different reasons why the symptom will start coming. I may tell you index problem, I may tell you join order, I may tell you partition problem, I may tell you histogram problem, I may tell you fragmentations. Like that, if I give you 50 reasons, you note down the 50 reasons and help to others, so you will be master in the tuning. That's important. So now today's takeaway or today's. So my access path, join order, join method make a culprit. That culprit means increasing the IO. That means logical can be a physical. That will increase my CPU, and that to reduce it, we have done manual way of changing. Plus, we are also done with the changing through advisor. Now, what is pending? I need to go ahead and explain you the different access path of the index. The index whole topic, statistics, those all pending. And also, I need to go ahead and explain you something called SQL performance as a. Also, I need to explain you about something called SPM, SQL Plan Management, also called SQL Baseline. So those are all topics still pending. We'll go ahead and refer. The big topic with the statistics. In the statistics, we will also see the histogram and all. Next, we'll also see the index topic. We'll also see the partition topic. We'll also see the OS commands, which are right now you asked about how do you find out which is my top consuming and all. We will see those. In the execution plan, in the explain plan, you have adaptive plan. Yeah, can you please explain that? Yes, adaptive plan is what it is decided previously and what it is finalized at the later. It's not adaptive. Initially, you tried with NL and he says that you did a stop. Now, start with it as shown. This is called final plan. What we decided initially, you tried with the nested loop. What is tried initial, later stopped, and then what is final plan is referred. That you want to check. This you want to verify. You use the adaptive plan. Example. Let's take same query. Let's say example. I'll just show you. how do I check the adaptive plan? This is my query. Sorry, query is flushed. Maybe I rerun the query. Yeah, this is the query. I executed. Now see the plan. Now this plan is coming. I know the SQL ID. I'll just try with the select star from table and within the bracket dbms underscore exploit dot display underscore cursor. So within the bracket, I'll pass this SQL ID followed by this child number. Now here I need to provide this. He says that only what is final plan is referred is giving me. Did I pass any value after this SQL ID and child number? Answer no. It will show me only the final plan. I want to see the tried plan, what is being tried. Say add the adaptive. Now here adaptive will give me, again it's a profile object. So due to that it is not showing me that options. If it is adaptive word, you will say that he tried any other stuff, he'll show you that option. Since it's a profile object is used, so due to that it is not working. Let me disable this. Okay, so we have disable options with the profile. Let's go for here. Disable them. After disabled, now verify rerun the same query. I execute it. Now let's try with the SQL adaptive. So here, let me just check what does the SQL ID have. SQL ID of adaptive. Yeah. 1 minute. Not supposed to do it. Not there. That's correct. Let's try with
Using AWS.
No, that's another question. So not mandatory to go with AWS, but it is right now I have in my library cache. I'll be referring back. Let me just try to flush this part. Say here, flush 2, and I know the SQL ID. Let me just flush it. Since it's let me just flush Alpha system flush. Here. I'm using a hint. Due to that, it is not maybe trying. But I'll try to show you whether it is working with the. Is it tried different or not? Let me first check what are the query. Is it checked up with this? Okay. So it is not showing me because it's a hint is used. Let me remove the hint. I will try remove the hint so that it will not stick to single one. Let's try this. Actual query. I execute it and find out the SQL ID for this. This is my query. Here you go. And now take this plan, verify it. Yes, right. No. Okay. Let's try with simple queries. Next topic. maybe I'll just try to simulate this, you can say the scenario one more time. So in short, what it does, it will try to give you first what plan is tried and finally what has been decided. Accordingly, it will show. The error which is not enabled in intensive by default, it is available. You don't need to enable it, it is by default available. Uncircular, yes, it's available. Okay, so we will test it in the next class where I'll show you one more time about the adaptive part. It is default enabled, you don't need to do any changes. And let's try with the, let's